experiences. I think it's a vital information source, as will the other speakers also. I would now like to invite you to join us for tea, but before you get up, just a few quick announcements. We're running a little late behind schedule. As a custodian, I think I'm also accountable for time to you. On the schedule, we were supposed to break at 11 o'clock. We're breaking now. May we please make a conscious effort to make it back to this hall at 11:40 so that we can commence the next session, which is being done by the Managing Director of SAP. If all of you will exit from these doors, take a right on this floor and keep going down. You'll come to the elevators, take a right from the elevators, that's where the tea is being served. Be sure and network, be sure and share cards, be sure and share your experiences, as long as please make a conscious effort to come back at 11:40. While all of you make your way out, may I please request Mr. Ahmed Dawood Patel, who's the Chairman Executive Board at Ernst & Young, Ford Road, Sidat Heather, to come up and present plaques and momentums to our distinguished speakers. Dr. Ishrat Hussain, who is the Dean and Director of IBA. May we please have the plaque for him? Come on, we can do better than that. May I also request Mr. A.N. Raman, who is the Vice President of SAFA. May I also request Mr. Yaqub Sattar, who is the Executive Director of Finance and IT at Pakistan State Oil. Big smile, big round of applause. Yaqub Saab, please, may I request you to stay on stage, sir? We'll have a group photograph. Dr. Ishrat, I'm going to request you to come back, and Mr. Raman. Mr. Surya, could you also join us on stage? Hamza Hashmi, if you can make it through the mob, which is now making its way towards the marquee. Just a quick note, any other speakers for the rest of the sessions? Speakers, panelists, moderators, if you are here, please don't exit the hall just yet. Has been happening at a very high volume, which is wonderful. May I please request those of you who are still standing in the aisles to please take your seats? Our next session is all about teaching you or talking to you about how CFOs can drive enterprise performance management. The speaker is the Management Director of SAP, and he will be able to enlighten you on a lot of issues that you already know, but also share with you a lot of other strategies. Please put your hands together for the MD of SAP, Sajjad Syed.
Assalamu alaikum. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sajjad Syed. I'm Managing Director of SAP. I look after Pakistan and Afghanistan territories, two very interesting territories. First of all, I'm glad and extremely honored to be part of this event. I think ICAP and Terrabiz have done a fantastic job. We are very honored to be part and supporting this event, and hopefully it will be an annual event and we'll be able to participate in it on a regular basis. My presentation today is effectively going after the last 2 years. We started our direct operations in 2008, and what a fantastic ride we've had in the last 2 years. A lot of people ask, one of the questions almost when I meet most of my friends and colleagues and customers here is, how was last year? And my answer is that if anybody tells you anything other than that we survived, is slightly not being very truthful. But what an interesting ride. And one of the learning points that we had, and which is very surprising both locally and globally, we've seen these trends, are twofold. The questions CFOs have been asking us have changed. The business requirements that they posed to us earlier versus the things and the solutions they require now have changed. And that has been a very interesting thing. The products we could position or the business problems they came to us earlier versus the business problems they come to us today are very different. I'll give you an example. SAP is historically known as a supply chain management company, right? And almost everybody came to us that, look, we want manufacturing costing and we want this and that. And historically, the entire talk was about how to manage inventory, supply chain, from customer, from sales orders and all the rest. The conversation has changed completely. Now it is about governance, risk and compliance. Now it's about simulation. And now it's about, and the whole role of finance as they were managing the organization, as Sattar Saab had mentioned, nobody's interested in balance sheet anymore. Really. If we go out and say that SAP gives you a P&L and a balance sheet and a cash flow statement, so what, everybody else does it as well, right? But that is no longer the requirement. What we have felt that the trend that we see emerging is companies over the last decade or so were based on this fantastic model of build to last. So everybody was saying, we'll build these companies which will exist for years and years and years to come. What happened? 2008, 2009, most of those build to last companies vanished. Some of the biggest names in the business vanished. Those were the companies, historically, they were talking about consolidation and efficiency. That was the goal. There were companies who were talking about having a very clear command and control structure and an organization which is led by business heads and all, and, siloed mentality and doing fantastically well over there. And there were companies who were talking about product and service leadership. Some of it is still relevant today. And about uniformity of operations. That was the concept of build to last. Most of the companies that pioneered the build to last system are no longer with us. Now we are seeing a different business approach as companies manage themselves. And that is called build to adapt. Because of the pace of business which is out there, the rapidly changing environment, and it is even more relevant in Pakistan. It could be our economic policies. It could be things happening across the border. It could be things happening within our boundaries. It could be things happening in our supply chains. It could be certain international sanctions and so on and so forth within our countries. It could be a competitor action or reaction. So the concept of management right now is more of build to adapt. Your companies, our companies, need to be agile, and we need to manage an ecosystem. We need to be more collaborative, and that's another word that has come out again and again in different forms. We need to coordinate and collaborate. Coordinate within ourselves and collaborate with the ecosystem, with the stakeholders. And no longer can we talk about individual product or service value to the customer. We need to talk about the aggregate customer value. And a lot of people in sustainability and all other have mentioned some of this. Our value, our products of our value can no longer be just this one particular product. And SAP, frankly, we use this within our own business decisions, and we were extremely, alhamdulillah, profitable even last year. We realized very early on that in our particular line of business, how we handle aggregate customer value is not by selling them a product and walking away. It is about service. So as a product-centric company, we said that the aggregate customer value will come through our ecosystem, which is our partners. So the aggregate customer value is something we need to focus about. I'll slowly link it, how it links to a CFO's role. And more importantly, what we are looking in increasingly is the diversity in our operations, diversity in our workforce, diversity in everything that we do. So how does that impact from our historical role to our present role of a CFO? As historically, one of the things that was happening was, as a CFO was more of a reactive role. A reactive role as approach to risk. Now, Sattar Saab had even mentioned that the board is interested in knowing what is going to happen now. How do you tell them? How do you simulate various scenarios or things that are going to happen in the market, or what you expect to happen in the business, and how it's going to impact your bottom line and your top line? Historically, we've also seen that there was very little role, very little linkage between strategy and execution. So you have strategy designed in one silo, which could be the board, for lack of a better word, and in terms of execution, which is maybe your sales force or your manufacturing or your procurement people. And finance historically is something which is monitoring and looking at best, looking on a monthly basis. Normally a quarterly or annual basis. And because that visibility was not there, that collaboration was not there,